All right. So, hello, everyone. I'm Kelcey Lemon, Senior Technical Marketing Manager here at VMware, and I want to welcome you to our webinar where we're going to focus on providing tips and tricks to help you get the most out of the Skyline service. And we're going to do something special for today's webinar. Today we have Mark Curry from BrightCloud, and he's going to share his experience with Skyline and how he's actually used the service to avoid unplanned downtime. And in addition to Mark, we've got a veritable who's who of VMware experts. We have Product Marketing Manager Michelle Clopton and Technical Marketing Engineer Sign You In. And they're going to be monitoring our Q&A pod as well as Mark here. And we're going to be using that to sort of answer all your questions. So make sure that you're using that Q&A option at the bottom of the screen there, right? And so with that, speaking of questions, Michelle, I know we've got some questions that we'd like to ask the audience in order to facilitate today's discussion. So if we can go ahead and get that popped off, that'd be awesome.
Okay, here we go.
All right, so it looks like we've got a couple of questions here. We'd like to know your current level of support. Definitely would like to know if you're currently using Skyline or not. And if you're not, we're going to make a strong argument why you should. And if you are using Skyline, we'd like to know how many people are using the service. If you are using it, what's your favorite feature? Have you acted on any of Skyline's proactive findings and recommendations? Are you currently using vRealize Operation, whether it's on-prem or the cloud version, because there's an integration between the two? And we're going to talk about that. And then last but not least, we'd like to sort of figure out what social media tools that you're using right now, whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter, or Reddit, because we'd like to use that to make sure that we're getting all the most relevant information to you. So give you all a minute there.
Yep, I see some answers coming in.
Sweet. And when it's all said and done, Michelle, if you can read off the results, that would be awesome.
Oh, sure. Be happy to. All right, we'll give just another few seconds. I think the answers are slowing down, although still coming in a little bit. Give everyone a chance to get through everything. Yep, more answers, so that's great. Keep them coming.
Keep them coming.
All right, a couple more seconds, let people finish up, and going to end the poll and then share the results so everyone can see them. So we've got vast majority of our customers on production support, looks like. And then second question, currently using Skyline. More people are not using Skyline than are using Skyline. So this will be a great session for those who are not using it to learn about it and those who are to learn even more about it. So people on the team using Skyline, we've got 1 to 5 people using Skyline. Yep.
That's about the average.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and then drum roll. What's your favorite Skyline feature? Looks like Log Assist. Kelcey loves Log Assist. That's the winner, followed closely by the operational summary dashboard. And then not far behind are the other selections there.
Good deal.
And have you acted on any of Skyline's proactive findings? It's split between yes and no. And are you currently using vRealize Operations on-prem or in the cloud? And almost everyone who answered said yes. So it's great. We'll talk about our support for VROPS and an integration we have with VROPS Cloud. And social media, looks like most everyone's using LinkedIn, kind of followed in a tie by Twitter and Facebook, and then just a handful of people not using any social media. So very interesting. All right.
Off the grid.
I will stop sharing the results.
Good deal. All right. And so with that, let's just dig right into the agenda, right? We've got something for everyone, so for those of you who are looking to learn more about the service, I'm going to give a quick overview of that service and talk about the value that Skyline provides. And for those of you who have already adopted the service, I'm going to talk about the latest updates before we turn it over to Mark. I'm going to go through this really, really fast because, again, Mark's the star of the show. And so with that, let's just jump right in and talk about the service itself by answering the question, exactly what is Skyline for those of you who are unfamiliar with it? And so in order to really answer that question, right, I want to set some context about the overall support experience that I'm sure that you can all relate to. So here goes, right, as a customer, I'm sure you're all very familiar with the traditional, the reactive support scenario, right? Where you experience an issue in your environment, you open an SR with VMware, and our tech support team troubleshoots and works with you to actually solve and remediate that issue. Well, VMware Skyline is actually the next step in that process. It's actually a proactive support technology, meaning that it can actually help you avoid issues before they happen so that you don't even have the problem in the first place. Skyline also helps resolve existing issues faster. So say, for example, if you've got a case open with us, our tech support engineers can use Skyline to view environment-specific configuration data, and then they can actually use data-driven analytics, right, to really speed discovery and ultimately drive faster resolution times. And then on top of that, Skyline's automated detection and proactive remediation, that guidance, right? It actually helps you strengthen your environments. And so with the service, you can actually avoid that IT downtime, and then you can reallocate that time to doing, quite frankly, more valuable work. But here's the best part, right? Skyline is available at no additional cost with your active production or premier support contracts. I know that quite a few of you, according to the poll, are on production. So if you're not using it, you're actually eligible for it. And I'm also very happy to say that Skyline is actually included with Success 360, as well as vRealize Cloud Universal subscriptions. And speaking of environment-specific configurations, right, Skyline supports all the products listed here. So quite a number of products there. And so when it comes to the benefits, right, all these capabilities that I talked about, they're really driving value to customers like yourselves. We're hearing that Skyline actually helps our customers avoid constantly being in that firefighting mode, right? Our customers are saying that they're reducing very costly downtime, which is often caused by misconfigurations, right? And as a result of that, that increased network reliability, again, translates into less time fixing errors. And as you can see here from a recent, industry report, 1 hour of downtime, for an enterprise customer, and averages $500,000, right? And for companies who are strategically making the decision to take a more proactive approach to support, are significantly reducing unplanned downtime. We're talking hundreds of hours here. And to date, Skyline has helped over 12,000 plus customers identify nearly 90 million objects in their environments that could potentially have issues. And our customers have proactively resolved more than 60% of those on their own. And when there are times when you may need to actually react to an issue that wasn't proactively resolved, right? Skyline can actually help support you here as well through my favorite feature that was #1 in the poll, which is Log Assist. And it's actually 17 times faster than manual, log upload and transfer processes, right? And again, when you translate that into hours, it translates into nearly 100,000 hours saved. And if you've done the traditional log transfer process, and I'm sure Mark's going to be talking about this later, I'm going to sure that you can all relate to how slow and how painful that process is, right? And so the log assist feature actually removes that pain, again, giving you that very valuable time back to do more meaningful work. And so how does Skyline enable all of these benefits, right? Well, a couple things need to happen. First, you need to install and configure this lightweight appliance called the Skyline Collector into your environment. And then once that collector is installed and configured to your endpoints, it actually starts to listen, right, to start collecting product usage data. And then based on this data, Skyline will perform a comprehensive analysis of your environmental details. And then at that point, Skyline begins to act to provide proactive findings and recommendations via a web-based portal. And whenever I discuss how the Skyline collector works, I inevitably get questions about security. They always come up. So let's go into it, right? When you activate Skyline, you actually consent to participate in VMware's Enhanced Customer Experience Improvement Program, otherwise known as CEIP, that actually allows VMware to collect product usage data, whether it's configuration, feature usage, performance data, as well as product logs that provide recommendations, insights, as well as support, and even just basically just drive the overall improvement of the product itself. I should point out that the data that is collected is transmitted to VMware using TLS 1.2 encryption protocol. And then that product usage data is sent to VMware's storage platform, and it's encrypted both in transit and at rest. And I should also point out that all data, right, it's tagged with legally identifiable customer information, and access to that data is actually limited to VMware employees and support and management, and they all must undergo training as well as receive manager approval. Last but not least, I just also want to point out that no personally identifiable information that PI has collected. But with that said, you should never enter, personal data when you're naming things such as your ESXi host or your virtual machines or your dashboard. And I always get this question: is Skyline SOC 2 compliant? And I'm happy to say that it is. And so now let's just talk about the latest enhancements for those of you who are currently leveraging the service. So let's just jump right into it. And so we recently introduced a feature known as end-of-life insights, right? Prior to Advisor Pro, you relied on conversations with your account team or an email of some sort to be notified when your install solutions will no longer receive general support or technical guidance, right? Whether it was in the form of those patches, those upgrades, and those bug fixes. Well, the latest release, Advisor Pro, actually cuts out the middleman, so to speak, by providing those same notifications directly within the product's dashboard. But it doesn't stop there. Clicking on a notification will tell you exactly where that product is in its life cycle phase, and even indicate how many days are left. And you'll even get a total number of findings and recommendations that are associated with that product. And this is a really important feature, because with the ability to sort of see at a glance when support is coming to an end, you've got sufficient time to plan upgrades and really ensure that business continuity with minimum disruption. And I'm sure Mark's going to be talking about that in terms of upgrade planning a little bit later. And then secondly, there's a feature known as historical insights. With Advisor Pro, you have the ability to associate key events in your environment, say, for example, like a configuration change, with findings that will either appear or disappear as a result of that change, right? So it's a great way, again, to sort of see cause and effect, right? Whether it's identifying where an event may have created an issue or resolved an existing one. And then there's something known as insight reports. These bi-weekly reports are exclusive to our Success 360 customers, and they actually inform stakeholders about proactive progress, issues avoided, and even outstanding remediations. I noticed that OSRs was listed as one of the favorite features here. And one of the things that I want to point out here is that the key difference between the two is that the insight reports, they're not static Word documents. You can actually interact with them directly within the Advisor Pro environment. Insight reports will even tell you which findings and recommendations will give you those quick wins, and even identify the ones that would require more extensive planning with your VMware Success 360 partner. And then there's another one of my favorite features, which is known as the Insights API. With it, you can take Skyline findings data and you can extract it via API into the tooling of your choice to automate whatever you want. So, for example, right, you want to create a ticket out of a finding in Jira or PagerDuty, no problem. If you want to use configuration and automation tools, you can go ahead and code away. You want to send all your findings to Slack, done. And what's really great about this feature, right? With the addition of this feature, it actually makes Advisor Pro a tool for everyone on your team, right? So whether you're a sysadmin or an SRE, Or an IT manager, the Insights API can really be used to automate some common workflows and give you that, again, that very valuable time back to do more meaningful work. My colleague on the call here, Sunny Wins, created a lot of videos and blogs on how you can do exactly the things that I talked about, whether it's creating tickets, using Perl, or Power CLI to automate, or sending findings to Slack. All that's been documented. Make sure that you Google that and check out his blogs, because again, a lot of great information that's out there that you can leverage for the API itself. And then finally, we've introduced another feature known as the TAM Health Check that's powered by Skyline. And, thousands of customers, right? They trust VMware technical account management services to really accelerate time to value, to really optimize operations and keep pace, right, with technology innovation. And so with the insights provided by Skyline, TAMs can do a lot of things now. They can automatically gather data about your environment. They can validate for technical consistency. They can examine best practices and even identify areas where potential, system degradation and bottlenecks can really impact the health of your system. And all of this information can be delivered to you in a report that identifies gaps in current best practices, areas of concern, and even provide remediation recommendations, again, based on best practices. And, Sunny, as a former TAM who was heavily involved in the documentation and rollout of this feature, is there anything else that you'd like to add about it?
I'm sorry, Kelcey. I was in the midst of answering the questions.
I know. I appreciate that, but sorry to put you on the spot, but I know this is a very, very close feature to you being a former TAM.
It is. So as you all know, some of you who are TAM customers, you have to run TAM metrics. You have to run health check. It requires a lot of time out of you. You then send it over to your TAM, who then massage the data and then report back to you. All that's gone. Now it's just click of a button from the TAM side, they can get the report and then they can talk to you about, how to get things done better, which means it can be done more often.
Okay. Thank you for that insight, Sunny. And then with that, let's segue over to the star of the show. And so a little bit about BrightCloud. BrightCloud is an IT service provider. Their services include hosting, managed services, technical support, and consultancy. They're a VMware partner and an early adopter of Skyline, where they've implemented it across 3 vCenters with over 1,000 VMs, as well as integrates with derealized operations. And without stealing too much of Mark's thunder here, it's good to see that they're really sort of realizing a great deal of the benefits that I talked about earlier, ranging from reducing SRs to really making informed decisions around upgrade planning. And so with that, I want to welcome Mark. Mark, I know it's a little bit late for you, being that you're across the pond, but can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, your background and your key areas of expertise and when you started using VMware products?
Sure. Hi, Kelcey. Hi, everyone. Good to be here today. So my name's Mark. I'm Technical Operations Manager at BrightCloud. I've been at BrightCloud probably around 16, 17 years now. Started out on the service desk, worked my way up delivering consultancy, and now I head up the technical operations team, which is responsible for anything that sits inside one of our data centers. Big fan of VMware products. I remember, back in the day using ESX. Was amazed at watching my first vMotion, and have continued with VMware products since. Traditional vSphere infrastructures, then moved into the vRealize suite, looking at things like Log Insight and vRealize Operations Manager. We're now using Skyline.
Very, very good. And so with that, let's just jump right in. So can you give the audience a snapshot of your sort of digital transformation, if you will, over the last few years? What are the focus areas of your business?
Sure. I think our hands were forced somewhat, given what's occurred globally over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
So, not only transitioning our business to being fully remote working, but also helping our customers to achieve full remote working as well has been a challenge. And those challenges include things like collaboration and communication. Yes. How do we keep those channels open, not only internally, but externally. You know, we were so used to sitting around the office all together,
Right.
having those water cooler moments,
Yep.
picking up on conversations that are going on and being able to help out colleagues or listening on customer issues. That's changed now because we're
Most definitely.
remote working. So that's certainly one challenge and something that we've had to address through tooling such as, you know, Microsoft Teams. Another issue that we found is our service desk, the workload has increased over this period, supporting customers in different ways, which takes time away from us maintaining, administering infrastructures. So we've had to find more efficient ways of working.
Right.
That's led to an automation first approach strategy, which we're working on to hopefully improve our operational processes and give us back some time.
You know, you just brought up a great point there in terms of just, you know, smaller teams asked to, you know, do more with less, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's something that I think all of us can relate to. And the fact that you've actually embraced, you know, Skyline as another member of your team and not just another tool is a sort of a great example of that, how you can extend your reach, if you will, by adding a lot of automation and being more proactive in your approach. So that's very, very good to hear. Most definitely. And so I got to know, you know, you talked about it, but can you elaborate a little bit more on, you know, why you started using Skyline?
Yeah, so I think I must have come across a blog post in 2020 from a tweet and was intrigued. What's this VMware Skyline all about? And the first thing that captured me, and you touched upon it earlier, this is included at no additional cost with your production support. You had me there.
Yeah.
So then started reading about the features and the benefits. So VMware are willing to assess our infrastructure against their database of known misconfigurations and issues and report that back as potential issues in our environment. Like you said, that's, you know, a helping hand from VMware, almost an additional person to sit on our team and point us at where we should be spending our time.
It's great to hear. And again, for those of you in the poll that indicated that you're on production or Premier, it's available for free. You should definitely check it out. And we're going to strengthen that case even more with this interview here. So I'm going to segue into that. So we've talked about your usage over time. I'm just going to go ahead and build this out. Are there any additional things that you'd like to add here in terms of some of the additional compelling reasons? I know that you said that we're definitely leveraging the database. We're giving you best practices and we're allowing you to be more proactive. Is there anything else that you'd like to add here before I move on to the next question?
Yeah, so we're using Skyline to obviously remediate those findings. We're assessing the findings and then making a decision as to where we should spend our efforts to remediate them. Now, when you assess the findings, what may be useful is looking at the upgrade planning feature, because a number of findings or a number of objects could be remediated with a single upgrade. So it's sort of an efficient way to tackle stability or security issues that could have crept into your infrastructure.
Yeah, I noticed that in your quote that you're definitely a fan of upgrade planning. So I know that if you were taking this poll, that feature would definitely got the vote. And I know we're going to be talking about that a little bit later, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's about this technology being proactive, and it's giving you the ability to make informed decisions. Like you said, you're able to plan, you're able to sort of see where interoperability issues could impact something. And so by having all that insight, you're able to make these informed decisions without doing this whole trial and error type thing. So I appreciate you commenting on that. And you know, obviously, we got to talk about it. You just hinted on it earlier. You know, the last 2 years, that's definitely been challenging for everyone. You know, for a while, you know, lots of businesses have been sort of looking at this remote possibility, if you will, giving more people that ability to work remotely. How has your company sort of adapted and maintained business resiliency? And more importantly, you know, what role did Skyline play in those efforts?
So there were health checks we perform on our vSphere infrastructures, and these health checks follow a set of practices that we've developed over time. And the health check process takes time to run through. we're not just running scripts, collecting data and analyzing it, we're also going through our incident management system to understand what issues may have occurred over a given period, which will then tell us where we perhaps need to focus our efforts on changing configurations or applying upgrades.
Yeah.
Skyline's doing that for us now to some degree. It's giving us a list of issues that have crept into our environments. It's providing us with recommended remedial plans, which means our time now shifts from the discovery phase in this health check process to actually spending time coming up with the remediation plans. So it then saves, well, gives us time back to focus on other areas.
And you mentioned the whole idea around discovery, and I think that's key in terms of just, total time to value, total time to remediation, because with Skyline's ability to sort of create log bundles, you're able to leverage our support team, and they can use that data and totally sort of bypass that whole interview process, if you will. You're answering the questions over and over and over again, where all that data is in the logs themselves, and people can use that and sort of help expedite that discovery process to actually get down to the meat of the issue and help you resolve and remediate it, whether you're using our GSS team or if you're just doing it completely on your own and you're just self-remediating, which is awesome. Most definitely. And so, earlier, I gave a quick overview of the features in Skyline Pro. What's your initial impression of the service, and how are you benefiting from some of the new features?
So when we deployed our collectors, we enabled the auto upgrade option. So we didn't actually have to do anything to transition over to Advisor Pro. It happened as part of that upgrade process, which was great. Win-win. I think Advisor Pro is a great evolution of Skyline. So prior to Advisor Pro, we would be assessing our findings, running through our remediation plans, and we'd have to wait 2 days for the findings to update in Advisor. With Advisor Pro, that time is reduced from 2 days down to 4 hours.
4 hours.
Much quicker.
12 times faster, most definitely.
Indeed. I mentioned earlier about an automation first strategy, and I think the introduction of the API is going to change the way we consume Skyline, because we'll be able to extract our findings programmatically, push them into our ticketing system. So there's an event which is assigned to an engineer, which then drives work. So that is an efficiency gain, saving, if you will, in itself.
Yeah, it's that feature was a direct result from a lot of customers giving us feedback that, hey, it's great. We've got these findings and these recommendations. We like to have a tool that would actually make something actionable, where we can actually take action on the findings. And so that API and the introduction of that, to your point, will help automate a lot of those for those of you who are ready to sort of embark on that journey. That tool is going to be there when you're ready to do that.
I mean, take the example of the health check process that we go through as well. Again, you're collecting a number of issues that perhaps have accumulated over a period of time and trying to remediate a high number of them in a small period of time, if you like. If we're constantly able to extract a new finding as it's found, and then work on it, it's sort of less work, I suppose, but it's just a constant stream of, in improving our stability or security posture.
Most definitely. And so with that, I want to segue over into the operational overview dashboard. I know that you've used it. Can you share with the audience in terms of your experience with it, in terms of some of the benefits that it provides you? But before the answer to that, Mark, I'm going to actually toggle over to the actual overview page so that everyone who's unfamiliar with it can sort of see the feature in action. And so
I think, the operational overview dashboard is a great high level overview of your infrastructure. There's things that I want to be sure of across clusters and across hosts, and one of those things is going to be consistency. Am I consistent with HA across all of my clusters? Am I consistent with DRS? Over time, these misconfigurations can creep in through the troubleshooting process. So very quickly, I can see whether I am in that consistent state, which is brilliant.
Yeah, that's awesome. As a IT manager and admin, what I particularly like about the operational overview and the inventory summary is that, I can see what the collectors are monitoring. And when it's an exact match to what I know about my environment, it actually increases my confidence, right, in the proactive findings and recommendations that Skyline provides. And as you can see here, right, from the configuration summaries and all the pie charts, right, there's a lot happening here. There's a lot of data that provides a lot of great insight that will allow everyone here in this call to do their job more effectively. So if you're currently using Skyline, make sure that you have all of your endpoints connected. It's the best way to really ensure that you're getting the most comprehensive recommendations on how to keep your environment safe. And with that, I want to sort of talk about your process, your methodology, if you will, for developing and implementing your remediation plans with all of the proactive guidance that Skyline provides.
Okay. So BrightCloud are ISO 27001 certified. So our approach to everything revolves around managing risk. So
Yes.
I will sign into Skyline at least once a month. And it's almost my risk dashboard when I sign in, because I can see the number of findings. I can see those findings broken down by severity. So my approach would probably be, well, what are my critical risks? I'm going to assess those first. Let's have a look. Am I more interested in security vulnerabilities or stability issues? How many objects are these findings impacting? Once I've taken that assessment, I'll perhaps move over to the upgrade planning section. So from there, I can see that if I upgrade vCenter to a specific build, X number of findings will be remediated. You touched on it earlier, the interoperability issues. That is a great feature. If you've ever gone through the vSphere upgrade process, you need to be looking at the interoperability matrix to understand whether additional integrations are supported to whatever build you're going to. We're getting that in Skyline now, which is a time saver. It's brilliant.
So that actually sort of segues over to another feature. And I know we're going to get to upgrade recommendations, but I got to ask you, seeing how it was #1 in terms of feature voting, how you're using Log Assist and the features that it, the benefits, I guess, if you will, that it provides you. And but before you answer that question, Mark, I'm going to toggle over so that people can see the feature in action while you speak to the benefits that is actually provided you.
I've got some bad news, Kelcey, here. I've used Log Assist on very few occasions, but that, I believe,
that's a good thing. Yeah, that is a good thing.
Skyline.
Yes, that is a good thing. Yeah.
So, but when I have used it, I mean, you mentioned during the slide deck that grabbing log bundles, support bundles is a time-consuming task. Yeah, it can take some time and it takes you away from other work. So being able to initiate a log transfer within a few clicks is, yeah, a time saver. It really does save time. And it allows you then to go back to the more interesting tasks in your day.
So I'm glad to hear that you're not reactive, that Skyline is doing exactly what it was intended to do to help you be proactive. But again, the Log Assist feature is there as a sort of safety net for those who would have to react to something that they didn't take issue or on. And so with that, like you said, Log Assist is definitely a game changer. We've actually done the math, right? Customers are reporting that Log Assist is actually, again, 17 times faster than the manual process of creating and sending log bundles to our report team. And as you pointed out, right, the whole log bundle creation and submission process is automated. You simply associate the log bundle with an existing SR, and then you select where you want to pull the log bundles before actually initiating the transfer. And you can even have your TSC, request log bundles, and you can even give them permission to generate them on your behalf. And what I really, really like about the tool is that you actually get confirmation on the completion of the submission of the log bundle transfer itself. And so again, thank you for sharing your insight on this feature. And with that, we've talked a lot about benefits and how it's been, allowing you to make informed decisions. You're able to do more valuable work. But in terms of like quantification, how are you quantifying the benefits and how are you reporting those benefits up to management?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things here. I certainly think man hours saved is key when it comes to Skyline. You mentioned about certainly, log bundles,
No
log
SRs,
assist.
yeah.
Indeed, yeah. No SRs or reduced SRs as a result of remediating the findings.
Yep.
Upgrade planning. We're not spending the time that we would normally spend looking at interoperability matrices. You're giving us that information in the Skyline UI.
Most definitely. And so with that, I got to end it. Any parting advice for our audience? What best practices, any tips and tricks? I know you're going to talk about upgrade recommendations, Mark. And so before you do that, I'm going to go ahead and start the process so that people can actually see that feature in action while you speak to it.
I think there's a few things to mention if anyone isn't already using VMware Skyline. And the first thing is go and take the hands-on lab. VMware are very consistent in their approach of trying to get people using their products, and the hands-on labs is free, and you can go and play with these products through a guided lab. It gives you the confidence then to go and understand a little bit more, or even deploy the product yourself. Go and take the certification for Skyline. Yourself and Sunny have put together a great course, and it's not just a high-level overview. You'll go how you can use the API with some great examples to get people going. And who doesn't love a certificate in IT, right? Get that certification. Once you've got that knowledge, go and deploy it. It doesn't take long to deploy Skyline and integrate it with the solutions that you're operating. If you've got a number of those solutions, use the bulk update feature.
Yes, bulk product.
Bulk product,
yes.
And then assess your risk. You don't know what you don't know, and deploying Skyline will probably highlight some findings that you were not aware of. Once you're aware of them, you can start dealing with them.
Yeah, I agree.
And as you've mentioned, look at the upgrade planner. The
interoperability matrix is right here. It's showing you, everything that a recommendation is compatible with. And so you got that checks and balances, and so again, you've talked about the upgrade recommendations, and what I really like about it, and you've already touched base on, is the fact that, you can solve many issues at once, dozens, 50 at once, because it includes, patches to security holes, and being aware of them, like you said, actually makes your environments less vulnerable to harm, right? And when you sort of take the upgrade recommendation component and you factor in end of life notifications, you can see if there are any upgrades available. You can potentially remediate again dozens of issues at once, while at the same time ensuring with that interoperability matrix that everything is compatible with your existing solutions. And so I created this in your honor, if you will, so that you can have some eye candy, so that people can sort of see this in action here. So as you can see here, there's a lot going on, very, very colorful, but it's a lot of great information here. And with that, Mark, my friend, I want to thank you for your time, taking time today. I know it's a little bit late in the evening for you, to just share your experience of Skyline, with the world, right? And just like Mark said, for everybody in the audience, go ahead and get started today. If you're not using it, you can go to the Getting Started link. You can install Skyline. You can visit all the URLs here. You can get answers to frequently asked questions. If you are a Skyline customer, you can also get a free trial of vRealize Operations Cloud, where you can take advantage of that unified support and management experience that these two products combine to provide you. And as Mark also mentioned, we've got a moderated community. And also, like he said, if you haven't already done so, be sure to go ahead and get certified. If you're already using the service, the Advisor Pro Technologist badge, it's going to validate skills for supporting managing and planning environments through proactive monitoring and issue remediation, right? The badge holder will be able to demonstrate how they can help organizations use VMware Advisor Pro to proactively avoid issues before they occur, to increase network reliability and security, to ensure peak performance, and most importantly, reduce time to resolution for service requests, right? And so the course consists of 6 modules, and Mark already talked about it. You get to see start to end, the whole installation and configuration process. You get to understand essential workflows like upgrade planning and using the log assist feature. Definitely leverage the courses and the modules around how to use the API and the automation tools, as well as questions on security as well. And so with that, want to thank everyone for their time, for attending this webinar today. Mark, again, thank you, sir, for being available and again, sharing your love for the product.
So Kels, we have a couple questions
Sure.
that we can answer here. So question about data security.
Yep.
How can we be sure VMware does not have access to our data and just is monitoring the VMware product usage data?
Sure. If you go to our knowledge base article, I believe it's KB 55928. I'm not sure how I know this number by heart, but it will actually point you to all the different types of data that Skyline collects in terms of, I believe that KB article is 71071 or something like that. Maybe, Sonny, if you can find it real quickly, you can put that in the chat, but it will actually give you a complete breakdown of the data that's collected. And again, the service itself, when you sign up for it, you're signing up to be a member of the CEIP program. But again, no personally identifiable information is collected, only customer information with regard to feature usage and things along those lines to really improve the product itself. And so again, there's a KB out there that actually outlines that whole entire data collection process and the information that's being pulled.
So Kelcey, I just dropped it into the answer
Perfect.
so others can see it as well.
Thank you, sir.
Great, and I just put the main FAQ in the chat, and then
Yeah, that kind of, yeah. I forget the number, 7107 something. I forget the number, but
you are correct.
Okay.
71071.
Wow.
Pretty impressive. And then we had a question around the upgrade recommendations feature and whether it actually you can use it to perform the upgrades themselves. And
no,
yeah, today we can't, but maybe tomorrow.
We cannot. Yeah, I mean, with the API tool, and Sonny's got some great examples of how you can automate, the configuration and things along those lines. And so while the upgrade recommendation feature does not do that for you, we do have an API, and when you combine that along with scripting and Power CLI and Perl and things along those lines, you could potentially take action on the recommendations that way. Sonny, is there anything else that you'd like to add there? I know that you are our scripting guru on the team, so. No,
you're absolutely right. So the API will help you get the findings, and then we will show examples how to send it to Jira, ServiceNow, PagerDuty, and stuff like that. But ultimately, as you've been working in the industry for some time, you've got some tricks, some code that you're reusing over and over again to fix the common problems. So imagine tying all that together. Kelcey and I down the road will do more examples, not only in blogs, but also in webinars and such.
Very good.
Yeah, and stay tuned on that because we have a Skyline webinar the third Thursday of every month. So check the Connect Learning site for those. And we also talk about those on our social media too. So you'll probably see those announcements.
Awesome.
Okay, I don't see any more questions.
The
Sunny,
timing
do you
is perfect.
Do you see any? Yeah, I don't think there's any more at this time.
Well, with that, again, thank you for joining us. Again, Mark, my friend, thank you for sharing your experience with the service. And if you're not using Skyline, I hope we've made a strong argument for you to consider it and start using it today.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Mark.
See ya.